People power growth, but recruiting and onboarding are expensive, exhausting, and absolutely overwhelming. I've been there, and it doesn't have to be this way. Welcome to Hire and Empower. I'm your host, Molly McGrath. Join me as we interview leaders who care about their teams and distill powerful lessons from them. This show is sponsored by H&E, helping organizations to find their best hire and empower them for success. Learn more at hiringandempowering.com. All right, let's do this. I'm so excited about today's guest that we have today, Matthew Curvis of the subscriptionattorney.com. We're going to have all the links and all the goodies in the show notes, and make sure you listen till the end because we have an amazing little flip of the script here that we're going to share for you attorneys. And listen, if you are an attorney, you're going to want to stay until the end because we have an invite for you if you'd like to be featured on Matthew's podcast. So Matthew, thank you for being our guest today.
Happy to be here.
And thank you for putting your toe in the water and launching this subscription model that is all the rage right now. And so often I'll get calls from attorneys. I love going to all these different online digital course events, Funnel Hacking Live, Traffic and Conversions. I'm going to be going to the Game Changer Summit with Chris Video in Atlanta in the fall. Really excited about that. And you are definitely a pioneer. So many attorneys talk about getting into the course creation, online digital platform, subscription model, and you are doing it. We met at the ABA conference, 2-3 weeks ago. Right? And you were talking about it, you were sharing this with me, and now it's live, it's launched, and you also have your podcast launched. So welcome to the digital age.
It's very exciting to be here, and I'm super thrilled after about 8 years of practicing law at firms to be a new solo. It's quite an experience, and at the time of recording, I'm only a week in.
What area of law did you practice in? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I could give you a quick background. So
please.
I got my start actually doing foreclosure defense work. So I was keeping people in their homes when the banks were foreclosing on them. And this was sort of the tail end. This was 2014 to 2017, the tail end of the subprime mortgage crisis, where that was still a big practice area. And interestingly enough, these were people who they much would rather have paid their mortgage, but instead they could only afford to pay a little bit per month, and so it wasn't the billable hour. They were paying a few $100s a month every month, which was essentially, though I didn't recognize it at the time, the subscription model. So in a way, when I got my start in litigation, the firm I was working for was taking like the same amount every month from their clients to keep them in their home as long as possible. And so that was just litigation, and I got really, really good in just a year and a half. And so I actually got hired on at another firm to just head up the whole foreclosure defense practice, which I did for a couple of years before realizing, okay, the market is shifting, the economy's getting better, which is great for society, bad for foreclosure defense attorneys. But I also, at that firm, got a lot of real estate and transactional experience, which is now what I've moved into at my own firm. So then I went on to another firm, the third firm, which I just left, doing much more than just motion practice, but actual litigation, trial-related work. But at that firm, I was building up my own transactional practice, whether it was residential or commercial real estate or representing small business owners, people starting companies. And so I really liked that part of my practice, and I really wanted to grow that practice. And it's hard to grow a practice in a firm that's built, a transactional practice at a firm that's built around the litigation model. And even though the firm I was with supported the subscription model, I just couldn't really do it like I wanted to do it without leaving and starting on my own. So I did. And so it's primarily a general practice, subscription model law firm. I only represent I will only work with subscribers. In order to get access to a lot of flat fee services that I offer, you have to be a $20 a month subscriber. So I'm trying to make it affordable to get access to me. And then you get some limited access, but it's still access. And then the premier levels and above get access to all my flat fee services, which are primarily right now uh, real estate related, contract business related, and estate planning type stuff. Wills, trusts, that kind of thing. So those are sort of the three main areas right now. It may grow, it may expand. I may have to develop my relationships with other attorneys, and I'm hoping that other attorneys adapt the subscription model so that when I have to refer clients to other practice areas, my clients will know what to expect from the other attorneys. So again, thank you so much for having me here, because hopefully we show your listeners the value of the subscription model, and other law firms will do it as well.
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about your journey. So you have the idea, you see the need, and you launched a week ago and you already have subscribers, yes?
I do. Yes, I do. And it really goes back to my work in the American Bar Association. And it's which I'm not really as super involved with anymore, because I actually ran for a leadership role based on bringing the subscription model to legal services, but attorneys just don't get it. And so that's part of the reason why I have this other arm of what I'm doing, which is legal journalism on the subscription model, to educate the profession. But since I've been so involved with the ABA for over 9 years, one of the big things that they do, among so many great things that the ABA does, is they really try to solve this access to justice problem. And so it's always kind of in the forefront of the policy that we're pushing, or the programming that we have going on, is there's always some element of lawyers are just too expensive for the general public, and so what could we do about it? And it's a very layered and nuanced thing, because law school is really expensive, and young lawyers now more than ever have just massive amounts of student loan debt. So of course they're not going to take risks and be innovative, because they have to go work for the legacy law firms doing the traditional thing, to make as much money as possible to pay off these piles and piles of student loans. And then at the same time, they probably can't even afford to hire themselves, most lawyers, right? Because the billable hour is just too darn expensive. And so it was just seeing that problem and always trying to be creative about how do I address it. The subscription model is just something, it's a business model that you can scale your clients and your business, unlike any other model. Even value-based billing, which is also something that's much preferable to the billable hour. It's just that compared to the billable hour, in order to do more work, to make more money as an attorney or any profession, consultants, whatever, you can only bill so many hours in a day. So you have to hire more people, which is expensive. But if you're able to streamline and create efficiencies in your business, then you could actually take on more clients with less people and make more money. And just based upon economies of scale, you should be able to then reduce the cost that you offer your services in order for that model to work. You don't have to. And frankly, I could probably charge a lot more and get away with it and still get people to sign up. But I don't need to be a solo practitioner who makes millions of dollars. I just need to be able to live comfortably and help people, which is what I wanted to do when I went to law school, and be able to pay off my student loans and live a good life with my family. And that's all I'm trying to achieve. And if I'm able to just fill a little bit of that access to justice gap, then that's something that I want to do.
I love that. Wow. So talk to us a little bit about what it was like to get this launched and put together. And I'd love to hear how you're getting clients and really speaking into the voice of the customer and the need for this to bridge that gap.
Yeah. And I will speak to high school and college students who are thinking about going to law school. It's something that I do. I try to make them face the stark reality that the value proposition isn't what it used to be. But also I still want to encourage them to go. And one of the things I try to explain to them is about business development. And so I mentioned before how I was building a transactional practice. Well, that was doing zero marketing. It was just a result of years and years of being a decent human being and building relationships with people wherever I went. You and I met at the ABA Tech Show. I've been going to the Tech Show for like 11 or 12 years, right? Meeting people, fostering relationships. And I've been doing that in a number of different groups, not just through the American Bar Association, but through entrepreneurship related groups. Video game developers. There's an indie video game development community in the Chicagoland area, and I'm involved with them, right? And so just getting involved, and it's easier than ever now. There are so many apps and so many platforms, and there's like a LinkedIn for gamers that is called eFuse. So I'm on eFuse. In fact, I was one of the first people on there. I got the handle @attorney on that platform, right? So being places wherever you could be and just treating people well. You don't have to. I mean, granted, I've never actually really had a law firm that could represent anybody before, or product services that I could provide to literally anybody. So I've never really had to make that ask until now. But what I'm doing is I'm tapping into those relationships. So what I tell the high schoolers and the college kids is just be nice to everybody and be somebody that people can rely on. And then when it comes time to having to, if you have something of value that you could give someone that they could pay you for, then it's a no-brainer for them. And so I've been tapping into that network that I've built up over a decade. And that's part of the reason I've been able to get signups in the beginning. But there's a lot other marketing stuff, more traditional stuff I could do. But a lot of it's just been tapping into this existing network that I've developed for a very long time.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit about, the attorney's perspective. So kind of switch your hat. What if you're an attorney listening to this podcast, you're like, oh, is this like Legal Shield or Legal Zoom or whatever it might be? Talk to us a little bit about why an attorney would want to adopt this subscription model in their practice, number one. And number two, do they see it as like devaluing the traditional billable hour and or traditional law firm model?
Yeah, you're asking some great questions, and I have received all those questions from actual attorneys in real life.
I'm sure.
And I should put it out there that I am the first attorney using the subscription model in sort of a general practice, access to justice way. But I walk in the path paved by other attorneys who have adapted the model to niche practices like trademarks, like family law. And so it is a thing, and these attorneys that I've spoken to have run into these same questions that you just asked me, and the response. So we sort of, as a group, are coming up with like what's a good response to these concerns. It's not legal insurance, although that is what where a lot of attorneys go to. Is it it's legal insurance? Well, it's not prepaid legal services, and it's not. It's not. Well, I can't remember what the third thing I was going to say, but I know there's like another thing that it's not selling your time ahead of time, right? Which is kind of like prepaid legal services. So I think there's a few lawyers out there who maybe sell they sell 10 hours a month. I'm not, depending on your jurisdiction, that might not even be ethical. You might have to refund money. That's like more of like the traditional retainer model than it is the subscription model. In order for And every jurisdiction is different, but generally speaking, and this isn't legal advice, generally speaking, if you're just associating your time with a value that you're providing and people are paying you a certain amount a month, a fixed amount per month, then that may not be ethical, and you may have to hold that money in your IOLTA account, your client trust fund account, and refund it if they don't use those services. That's really not using the model in the right way. You have to be thinking about what are your clients getting in exchange for that monthly amount, and how is your retainer agreement or your engagement letter? How is that worded to make sure that it's an earned fee? So for my example, I will use everything is my slogan is a transparent price for legal advice. So, and I can only represent so many people. So any attorney could go on my website, subscriptionattorney.com, and look at everything. I have my engagement agreement on there. I have all my flat fee services, the limited ones and the ones that Premier and above subscribers have access to, and I have all my pricing on there. And so they could go and look. I mean, it's fine with me. The model that I've chosen to take is access is what you get for the subscription. You get access as a client to my calendar to schedule a time with me through Calendly. I think you asked about technology earlier, and I didn't quite get back to that. You have access to the limited flat fee services as a $20 a month subscriber, or all access to all my flat fee services as a Premier or above subscriber. And you get access to my knowledge base. And I think this is not necessarily my own innovation, but it is my own spin on it. My knowledge base for subscription attorney is, if you're a subscriber and you ask me a question, whatever it is, whether it's over Zoom that you've scheduled a time to talk with me, we talk, whether you message me through the client portal, which is another technology related thing we could go into if you want to talk about the client portal and my journey. And I've demoed like 20 different client portal technologies to try to use. Whether you message me, whatever it is, whenever I answer a client question, especially since I'm in general practice, I will always put that answer in writing. And then what I do is I remove any personally identifying information and upload it to my knowledge base that every single subscriber has access to. And so this way, I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And my clients will eventually, because this is a learning experience, I have to teach society essentially how to what these legal services are like. But as my clients stay clients longer, they'll know, go to the knowledge base first, search for their problem, read whatever I've published, unique and only accessible to my subscribers about their problem. And then when they schedule a time to talk with me or they shoot me a message, it's more narrowly focused to maybe something that's unique to them that wasn't addressed in the knowledge base. But for just $20 a month, you get access to all of that as a subscriber, in addition to all these other flat fee services. And so the way that I'm making sure I'm ethically compliant with the Illinois attorney rules for professional conduct is they're getting all this access for the subscription. That's what they get. And then they're not afraid to call me or talk to me or reach out to me because they know they're not on the clock. So it will allow me to actually develop relationships with my clients because they're not afraid to reach out because they're going to be charged for it.
Right. So I love that distinction that you're making. It's about the access to your calendar, and that alone for the $20 a month, there's a value right there. Now, someone has a more complex, then we're talking about, then you go into paid legal services. But also, I'm just even thinking as a general practitioner, this could be an amazing referral source for you for when they have a more about asset protection or higher level, let's use estate planning. That's a lot of my client base, and I'm very near and dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about estate planning and elder law. So if it's something more complex, and you could actually I'm seeing this as like a referral source where you can actually refer them out to maybe if they have higher tax planning needs or what have you, or something that's outside of your scope, you can have a bank of attorneys that you can refer work back out to as well, right? Have you thought about that?
Exactly. And I actually, for every practice area that I don't really have a full grasp on, where I wouldn't be super comfortable doing more than just some basic research and legal advice on, I have already 2 or 3 attorneys per practice area that I'm ready to refer to. Of course, the problem is not all of them have either subscription or flat fee pricing, which I think my clients would come to expect more affordable, transparent pricing. But for example, one of my subscribers owns some property, is a landlord. I helped them with an issue leading up to what might lead to litigation. I'm not doing any litigation. So what did I do? I referred the litigation piece of it to an attorney who I know charges flat fees for representing landlords in evictions. So I'm already doing that. And while I will be taking an upcoming seminar on elder law because there is a huge need for that. Certainly, if I had some clients that had some very unique issues that I can't handle in elder law right now anyway, I'm not comfortable handling that. So that would be another thing that I would refer. But because I'm a general practice attorney, I'm like an individual's outside in-house counsel, right? For their life, whatever their legal issue might be. They'll come to me, and like a general counsel at a company who needs to occasionally hire outside counsel on very specialized matters of law, then they have a second opinion on different things happening with whatever might be going on with legal issues that people are having, because at the end of the day, they could just sign up for $20 a month and schedule a time to talk with me, right?
Yeah, it'd be wonderful model for any practice area to have an associate attorney run this side of the house, this subscription model. So talk to us a little bit about the business side of this whole operation and the technology, because you have the idea, right? And this is the entrepreneurial seizure, if you will. Yeah, this is going to be awesome. And they just pay $20 a month and blah, blah, blah. And then you sit down at the computer and you're like, where do I even start with building this thing?
Yeah, and part of the reason I had to launch my own practice is it's very hard to innovate within an existing model. That's not to say that it can't be done, but for example, my practice is completely virtual. I run a virtual law firm out of a home office, right? My anticipated overhead is likely to not go over $4,000 for the first year. So we're talking about super low cost to operate the business. And I think since your audience are attorneys, I think it's really important that I say that. And it could be more and it could be less, but most of it is malpractice insurance at this point. So there's very affordable technology that's out there that you could use. The client portal technology that I use, which I may need to subscribe because of course everything's a subscription. I may need to subscribe to they have 3 different tiers. I'm on the first tier, the most affordable tier. It was less than $200 for the first year, for the whole year to use that client portal, right? And of course I vetted it and I had to make sure it's secure and that they're doing everything right because I have extra responsibilities as an attorney than just any old business owner using a client portal because it's not legal tech. I opted to not go with a legal tech company for my client portal. But I do use other legal tech for document automation and document review, like legal AI type stuff. So I use both. But even that is the technology I'm using there for my document automation is only $28 a month. So it's not very expensive. There's very affordable document automation software out there. And in the future, I might need to use some more advanced document automation to make because what I'm using is not super advanced, but it is very good and it gets the job done. And I'm still able to go in and take my client's, particular, situation and adapt the document as I need to. But I mean, I think you're already seeing that it's not super expensive to get this technology up and running. Now, the other absolute must, and this is where I think a lot of law firms will have difficulties, knowing what I know, is you must take credit cards. You absolutely must. In fact, I think the only way to make sure that the administrative burden is as low as possible is to only accept credit cards or debit cards with a subscription model.
Yes.
So that is an absolute must. And there are lots of payment processors out there. None of them are sponsors unless they want to be. You can edit this part, Molly, if you want. But LawPay and Gravity Legal are 2 of the sort of more known credit card processors for law firms, especially when it comes to the IOLTA accounts, because they are set up to manage that. But with a subscription model, if you do it like I'm doing it, it's an earned fee. They're getting what they're paying for, so I don't necessarily need that. So I'm using Stripe, which is just one of the most used payment processors out there that entrepreneurs will use. So I'm choosing to use Stripe. Stripe also is very intuitive compared to some of these other places that I looked at. And that cost it costs 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. So that's what that costs me. Right?
And the higher the volume that you have, the lower the fees go down. I use Stripe as well. So very easy. So talk to us real quick because I want to backtrack and give people really concrete. So for using Stripe for the payment processing, I agree with you. Super easy, takes no time at all, hardly at all to set up. Talk to us about your client portal. What are you using for that currently?
So again, not a sponsor, but if you could get them to sponsor you, I chose to go with SweetDash. And the reason I went with SweetDash is because it provided the right level of customization that I wanted for my client portal for the way I envisioned operating my subscription law practice. Actually, one of these first subscription attorneys on the scene is Kim Bennett, and she's now also a co-founder of a company called Fidu, and I think they won like Clio's award for legal tech companies with an API that integrate with Clio. And they are more of a turnkey solution for a subscription model for your law practice. I know Rally is another software out there that is more of a turnkey solution, but they're also way more expensive than the client portal option that I've gone with, and they're not as customizable as I want them to be for what I envisioned doing. But for a lot of attorneys, a Rally or a Fidu, I think Clio has some options. Well, at least Clio through Fidu, because of their API, you could do the subscription model there. So there are other options that are less customizable, but I spent weekends upon weekends of time having to go in. It's all no code, so I didn't have to do any coding. I maybe did I did a couple of, like, I had to Google search how to do a little embed here and a little code there, but it was very simple stuff. And it's all white labeled. So no one, unless they listen to this podcast, my clients would have no reason to know that I'm using SweetDash. And
Yeah.
there's a web app. So depending whether it's Android or iOS, you could download a web app version. So it's not searchable in an iStore in like the in the Apple Store or Google Play. But from my client portal login, you could save it as a icon on your home screen, and then that way it's separate from your web browser that you're using. And that's something that none of the other client portals offered.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have the payment processing, you have the client portal. Talk to us about the landing page and sales page. What are you using for that?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, the website, of course, the website, and the
Yeah.
website I spent many weekends building as well. So I built it all myself as well. I've built websites on WordPress before, and actually Lost Subscribed, which is the podcast you mentioned at the beginning of the show. I used to have that website built on WordPress, but I've recently moved it over to where I've built my other websites, which is much more affordable and way better, in my opinion, and that's Carrd with 2 R's, CARRD.co. I should really have my affiliate link there because I think I do get like I get months off my subscription if people sign up with Carrd. And I've just found they have it's I think it's only $19 for a year for up to 10 websites with custom domains and other pro features, and then it's only $49 a year if you want up to 25 websites with more features that you could do stuff with on your website. And so that was it took watching some YouTube videos, and it took looking at other things that were out there that were built with Carrd. And I think my website looks really good.
Yes.
And I've designed a client journey that makes it so the prospective clients are not looking at more than 3 options at a time. And this is something that you'll hear among the other attorneys who offer subscriptions out there, is that, and just any subscription platform in general, is you typically will not see more than 3 options or 3 tiers at a time, because any more than that, and the human mind just looks at it like gobbledygook and they can't make a decision. And so along the client journey on my website, depending on what your needs are, you will see either 2 or 3 options on the screen at a time, and that's it, and nothing more. So that was a design choice that is something that I learned from just the reading about and listening to books on the subscription model in general.
Wow. Thank you for that. You've really laid this out. So inexpensive. You've done a lot of the research for people. You've given some other options, Gravity Legal, et cetera, that they could look into. There's subscription models that are already being done in the legal space successfully. So there's no reason not to. I hear all the time from attorneys, and they get overwhelmed in regards to what it's going to take this from ideation to launch. And you really laid this out in a way, and thank you for sharing all the research that you've done and where you ultimately came to your decision of what technology you're using and why.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I wanted it to be customized, and I wanted to build things myself. Not every lawyer is going to be willing to do that, but if you're at a bigger firm, a firm with any other like younger associates who might be tech savvy, put them on this. But it's important to invest in them and let them do this. And if you're at a billable hour firm, let the time they put into this count towards their billable hours, because otherwise it's never going to happen. So this has to be, and you could hire non-lawyers to do it, and that's fine. And if I could find a way to turn my client portal into a template and sell it, maybe I'll do that. So I've already put in all the hard work. But there are a lot of options out there, and the route that I went is very much unique to me, because I wanted to customize everything to exactly what I wanted. My path is just one way. There's lots of different ways to pursue a subscription model, and I think you can added on to existing practices. You just have to be
Yes.
prepared to invest the time in it, and it will be worth it. And I think eventually you might just start doing you might find a way to change every practice area, every version of what you do as a lawyer, finding a way to do the subscription plus flat fee model. Through innovative ways of subscriptions plus flat fees, I think you can eliminate the billable hour entirely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking for a law firm, this is a wonderful way to use it as a lead generation for your firm as well. So it's not, to your point, there's a lot of people that cannot afford legal services, right? So it eliminates the either or and it creates the and keeping it all within under your own umbrella. Give it to an associate attorney to manage and lead in the beginning and allow for you to use it for lead generation, getting people into your funnel, if you will, and you're able to serve everyone.
In my opinion, if you could find a way to make money marketing instead of spending money marketing, do it. And I think I think an entry level subscription like what I offer is an example of that. And it doesn't mean completely eliminate marketing spend because you wanna do everything. You want to diversify your marketing efforts, right? But even there's in Arizona, I think there's a company called Law on Call, which
Oh,
offers $9 a month to be able to talk to an attorney. And this is one of these re-regulation. It's like not a law firm. It's like a financial business that has now partnered with attorneys because Arizona is allowing that. But what I don't like about Law on Call is if you actually need legal services beyond that phone call, they switch to the billable hour. And I think that
oh.
that's a little bit of a bait and switch in terms of consumer expectations. So you have to be super, super clear if you're going to adapt the subscription model with your clients. I would even probably have a separate engagement agreement for the subscription than from whatever other engagement agreement you have.
Wow. Oh my goodness. All right. Tell us about the podcast.
All right, absolutely. And for the video viewers, there's a video aid here. I'm
I love
switching
it.
my virtual background to all that branding. So the podcast is called Law Subscribed, and it's lawsubscribe.com, and you can search it on all your podcast apps. And or if you're looking at the video, there's the link tree where I have all the links. And it's really just me talking to other attorneys who already have the subscription model up and running for their practice, talking to attorneys who are thinking about it or are about to launch a subscription practice, and it's also talking to technologists, people who are thinking about building or would have already built technology to help lawyers productize their legal services, create efficiencies that could help them move away from the billable hour. And there's 3 episodes published now, but I have a publishing schedule that's already taking me through the middle of the year and a lot of potential guests. And so if you are an attorney and you're listening to this and you already have a subscription model, first of all, kudos to you. But
Yes.
if this has just inspired you at all, listen to the podcast and reach out to me. My DMs are open on all the socials for Law Subscribed, or you could reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know if you're interested in coming on the show, and I'd be happy to talk through that process with you of your thoughts there. That's the place for it, and I'm hopefully building a community of like-minded lawyers that want to innovate on this idea, because I'm just me. I can't
Yeah.
I can't just do it all alone. So I'd love to get more people involved in listening to the show, and so I appreciate the softball question there to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. I know many attorneys that think even before we record it, I'm like, oh, I got someone I just talked to this morning that you definitely have to have on your show. So thank you for creating everything that you've created, for bringing the subscription model to light, and in addition to creating your podcast for that, because I could see this absolutely just blowing up for you and giving a lot of attorneys that I talk to that have this idea, but they can never get it from idea to launch. So hopefully our listeners today are really inspired by what you've created. And I love, because last time I talked to you, you were still working at the firm and now you're live. Now you're already rocking and rolling. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to have all the links, all the social channels, all the way to connect with the podcast in addition to the subscription attorney. And Matthew, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for continuing to be a leader leading leaders.
We've reached the end of another impactful conversation on the Hire and Empower podcast. Whether this was your first episode or you're a longtime listener, I know you can tell I have passion for people. Whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, I understand the situation you're in. Hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, overwhelming, and if that's not enough, it's also time-consuming. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a team at H&E that has your back. For over 25 years, they've transformed over 4,000 law firms into efficient, effective, profitable assets for their business and made it fun to come to work again. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.